when it comes to airsoft, there's a lot of rifles that you'll see. Pretty much the most that you'll see are M4s because they're pretty much a dime a dozen. But what about AKs?
Zombie apocalypse.
How's it going, everyone? LT Spaghetti, and I am back with another video. And in today's video, we are going to be going over the Arcturs AK-12. Yes, that is right. We have an AK-12 by Arcturs, the infamous airsoft company, the very well-known company here. Now, this is something I picked up at Headshot Airsoft, and I had the chance to use it over the weekend, and it is amazing. Boy, do I love the look and feel of this rifle. Now, yes, it is an AK. It is based off the real version of the AK-12 that modern day soldiers would use. So let's go over this rifle here because there's some really cool features that I will get into in a bit. Now, starting off at the top here, starting off at the front, we have our flash hider. Now, this is a gnarly looking flash hider here with these spikes. You can definitely stab something into it if you need. Easily removable by this pin here. If you can see that, you push that pin down and this whole assembly can come off. Just behind that, we do have your front sight. And under that front sight, if you can see, there's this little pin, not a pin. There's this little thing here. This is actually the gas assembly pin. On the real AK, I believe this is where you would take out the gas assembly piston. So you can actually take this off on the real airsoft version. You can hide anything in there like BBs, whatever. A couple snacks if you want to for the field. Just under that, you have a front sling point. Can swivel side to side. You know, that's really cool, really cool. And just going back, we have to the handguard. All the way down the handguard to the rear sight, we do have a 20mm Picatinny rail, and with two 20mm Picatinny rails on the side and one Picatinny rail on the bottom of the handguard for a foregrip. Going back, we do have a little lever here that allows you to access the battery compartment. By lifting this up, you're able to take the dust cover off. Just behind that, we have our rear sight. Now, what's really cool about this sight here is rather than a normal flip up iron sight, this actually changes with elevation. So sliding this all the way forward and back changes the elevation of the rear sight corresponding with the front sight, which is actually really, really cool. Under that, we have the whole charging handle. Now, pulling the charging handle back exposes the rotary style hop-up unit. Just under that, beside it, we have the fire select switch. Now, on the fire select switch, we do have a really nice finger shelf here. Most AKs don't have that, but this one does. You have a really nice finger shelf that allows you to push it down and pull it up, allowing you to go to fire, safe, semi, and full auto. Just under that, we have the trigger and the handguard. Now, when I say this trigger, a little bit of ASMR here, if you can hear that. That is a nice clicky trigger. I love the curve on that trigger, how my finger just rests in that curve, and it's so responsive with the click. It is super nice. And this handguard, it is a little smooth because I'm wearing no gloves, but the grooves on this handguard allowing my fingers to easily wrap around it and ensure a nice tight grip. It feels very nice in the hand, very comfortable. And going back, we do have a multi-position we do have a multi-position stock. I believe this has about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 positions, I think. I'm not too sure, I didn't count. With QD sling points on each side, and of course it is foldable. So going over the overall looks and just basic stuff that you get right out of the box of the rifle here, it is actually pretty solid. Now, the rifle itself, the AK-12 itself, is half metal, half polymer. Now, there is some parts here that are, I believe, are steel, and the other parts that are polymer. Now, this handguard here is made out of polymer, where this whole receiver is made out of steel. very nice to the real counterpart. I would very much love to hold a real AK in my hand, so I actually don't know what it's like to the real version. If anybody does know, let me know down below. So yeah, again, just going over the overall look and feel of this gun itself, just stock, extremely nice. Now, I have always been used to M4s, and that is pretty much my playstyle. I've always been using M4s from the CM16 Raider to my KWA Ronin T10. And this is very, very different, adding it to my collection. Now, I wanted this because I wanted my very, very first AK, and I wanted to incorporate this into my Milsim loadout. Overall, it's really good. So I did have the chance to use this over the weekend at Red Devil's Airsoft, and she freaking rips. Now, we were playing a game, we were excuse me, I'm stuttering a lot here. We were playing a full auto game over the weekend, and I actually, when I pulled this out of the bag, I actually joined the game pretty late, and I didn't get a chance to zero in my optic here. I only had the chance to dial in my hop up. Now, out of the box, with just dialing my hop up with 0.32 BBs, it was really, really accurate. I mean, the sight was not adjusted any means whatsoever. I did not adjust it. However, I just adjusted the hop up, and it was really, really accurate. PSMA, I was shooting in full auto, but I was still trying to pick my shots, and I was actually getting more people out with my AK than I was with my T10 in previous games. Now, the reason I went with this AK rather than any other style of AK is because of its price, number one, and also its features. Now, it is a modern style AK to the AK-47 with its Picatinny rails, allowing me to add an optic. Now, I don't have to have an external piece to put an optic on. This does come with the Picatinny rail that I can add my tack light, my pec box, whatever, and of course my optic. Oh, I completely forgot, but there's another thing actually in the trigger guard here. There's a little button. If you press that button, it actually decompresses the spring. So that's another feature that I forgot to explain. Okay. Overall, the Arcturs AK-12 has a lot of good features and a lot of good points about it. However, I will only go over 2 gripes that I have with this specific rifle. Number one thing is the dust cover. Now, what's really cool is this AK came with Dean's with a Dean's connector already. Some Arcturs AK-12s do have the Tamiya connector, but I'm actually really great that this one came with a Dean's. However, unfortunately, the battery that I did get had the Tamiya connector. But fortunately, in the box, it does come with a Dean's to Tamiya adapter. However, that itself does pose an issue. So rather than being the battery in the stock, the whole battery goes on top of the gearbox within this whole assembly. And with all these wirings, it does make it hard to close. So if you are using the battery adapter with this, it creates too much space and it's extremely hard to close. However, it's an easy fix. If you do have a Tamiya connector on your AK, convert it to Dean's, convert all your airsoft guns to Dean's. It's extremely worth it. And even then, if your battery is Dean's as well, if you have Dean connector on here in the Dean's battery, get the battery cord shortened. It makes it a lot easier for you. So what I've been able to do is just wrap up the cords like this and then close it. Now that's probably just an me, not an issue. I'm still trying to figure out how to properly install it. But after doing that modification on the battery, it made it a lot easier. A second thing as well, when I mentioned that I am really picky when it comes to aiming, the stock. Now, the stock, let me just put this back on. Fucking come on. Alright, sorry about that. So the second gripe that I have with this is the stock. Now, when I mentioned before, I'm very, very picky when it comes to aiming. That's just a personal thing. So when I am aiming down sight and I get my perfect cheek weld, I actually cannot see anything at all. The stock sits lower than the the rail itself. So it does make it a little hard for me to aim, so I actually have to raise my cheek up just a little bit so I can be more in line with my sight. Now I can actually get a lower sight if I want to, but it still does pose the issue of actually being in line with it, because this rear sight here does block it. However, there's an easy fix to that. There's actually some 3D printed models you can get for the stock that allows you to incorporate a cheek riser. So it's a 3D printed cheek riser that you can print for the stock. I have not been able to find a stock that does incorporate a cheek riser on its own. All the ones that I've been looking at are just a 3D printed model. If you know where I can buy a stock, let me know in the comments down below. Other than that, the only two issues that I have with this rifle is just the battery compartment and the stock. And those are probably just personal issues that I have with this. You could have different issues, or you could have different opinions on it, and you can think it's overall perfect, but it's just two. Everything else on this rifle right now is amazing. And for this being my first AK with the price range that it's at, it's really, really good. So I wanted to put the AK down for just a little bit to also talk about the magazines. So these are your standard D-Day style magazines, and what's really, really cool about them is they are variable mid-cap magazines. So you can cap these off at 130 to 30 rounds. By doing so, you just push this button down, remove the butt plate, and then push the whole assembly through the magazine, and there you go, that's the magazine itself. So there's a little switch right here. What's really confusing, they don't explain this on the box, is if you push, there's an arrow pointing to 30. And that means that if you push the button all the way to the right, all the way to the other side, that's now capped at 30 rounds. And if you push the button back towards, or back to the left, you're at 130 rounds. So if you're planning to use this for milsim, you know you have that Russian operator loadout, you can, these D-Day style mags are extremely perfect because they are variable mid caps, and they're just as easy as putting them in just like this. Another cool feature about these AK mags as well is, since they are on par with the real counterpart, is this little thing right here. Now, this little nub right here allows me, when I'm going prone with my rifle, this actually can stay upright. So on the real AK-12 itself, when I go prone, this little nudge right here allows the rifle to be seated straight. So if I'm going prone, or if I'm of course sitting on the table like this, I can ensure my rifle is straight. Okay, so the AK does take other brand of magazines. I'm not too sure what brand this is. I believe this is a SEMA. I don't know, I didn't even pay attention to the packaging. I just ripped it out. But again, these are variable mid-cap magazines as well. So easy, insert it, and there you go. Oh, I didn't even fit this in all the way. Oh, here we are. There we are. Aha! Okay, so after going over the overall look and feel and features on the AK-12, there's something I wanted to bring back to attention. So the Arcturs AK-12 has a standard V3 gearbox with 9mm bearings. Out of the box, it's shooting 420 to 425 FPS, and that can easily be raised or lowered with the quick change spring feature in the back. And it does have a 430mm inner barrel. I'm not too sure if it's a Type bore or smooth bore inner barrel, but it's 430mm inner barrel. So, my opinion on the Arcturs AK-12, it is a 10 out of 10 overall, with the only two issues that I have with it. Those are nothing to discourage you. Those two issues have two easy fixes. Overall, I have no issues with this AK, and I would highly suggest anybody to go pick up their own AK. Now, thank you so much for taking a look at this review. Before I close out, however, I actually want to mention something. So I want to give a huge shout out to Headshot Airsoft. Headshot Airsoft is located in Gatineau over on the Quebec side. If you live in Ottawa, you know what I mean. they have been my go-to store for airsoft and airsoft goods. I've been pretty much going to Headshot for a lot of my things, and like the store itself sells extremely good high quality products, from guns to gear and ammunition. And anybody who lives in Ottawa and or Gatineau, I would highly suggest to take a trip to Headshot Airsoft. Now, to give you a perspective, from where I live in Ottawa, obviously, and for where I live, it's about a 30 to 40 minute drive over to the Gatineau side. And I am willing to make the trip over to Gatineau anytime that I need to go purchase something and store. And for those who don't know, I have been playing at Red Devils a lot lately. Red Devils located in Brockville, Ontario, and the team that plays at a Red Devils is GOTA, Gods of the Apocalypse, and I have been great to actually join the team and become a part of their Milson team. And when GOTA and Headshot are one of the same. Now, one of the members on GOTA, Lustafa, he's pretty much like our team daddy. You know, he's our team leader. He also runs when he runs GOTA and runs the field. He also helps run Headshot Airsoft. So go down to Headshot, and if you see Lou there, tell him LT Spaghetti sent you, and he will help you out with any of your airsoft purchases. So yeah, I just want to give a huge shout out to Headshot Airsoft. This is not a sponsored video whatsoever, and just because I'm on the team, I'm being as biased as I can, because yes, Headshot Airsoft is a really, really great store. The workers are great, the products are great, and I would highly suggest anybody to go there. Did I already mention that already? To go to Headshot Airsoft? If I hadn't said that, haven't said that shit my speech, go to Headshot. Thank you so much for taking a look at this video. That's my sister's now. Thank you so much for taking a look at this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave a like and comment down below on what you are running for your AK, and I'll see you next time. Peace.
Zombie Apocalypse.